Welcome to today's episode of the Heaven and Elle podcast. I am your host, Elle Edwards, founder of the Itchy Soul Playground and Yuya. And whether this is your first time tuning in or your 68th time tuning in, I think we are on about episode 68 or 69 now, just thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to share my heart. Now today we're going to be digging into those times when you are being Yuya. You're being you in that intentional, expectant relationship and people don't get it. Because my mandate here is really to equip you and inspire you and empower you to step into each day in relationship with God, talking to Him, expecting to hear from Him, being you full to the top with His love. And part of that is we have to face the reality that sometimes people are not going to get it. Sometimes people are not going to like it. They're going to feel threatened potentially by you being you. And what do you do with those times? What do you do with those occasions? Because one of two things really, two general things can happen. Three actually, thank you Holy Spirit. So three things, two not so good, one really empowering. Let's think about those two things which are not so positive first. When you be you and you're being your delightful, glorious, wonderful self, and you're maybe sharing those things that God has put on your heart and really living your relationship with God out loud, and then someone doesn't get it, you may feel this temptation to shrink back in a little bit, to dim your light, to play small, to not be everything that you're made to be, which is a real shame because you are wonderful and glorious and we need you to be you. The other thing that can happen, which is probably more dangerous because it can slip in, is you can start to feel a little bit resentful or a little bit bitter and a little bit like, they don't really get me. Maybe it's just me. But those times when we are faced with life and people don't get us, and then we have that internal chuntering, and we're not consciously chuntering to God about it, even though He's there listening. We're just chuntering. Insert your own words there. And if we allow ourselves to sit there for too long and to reflect on all the ways that we're so hard done by, and it's not fair, they don't get us, that bitterness can grow and it can cause hurt. It can cause you to be less of that delightful person that you are. And I'm not saying that when those things happen that may be hurtful or someone doesn't get you, I'm not saying that you don't express your feelings. I'm not saying that you don't feel your feelings. It's important to acknowledge your feelings. However, it is better and more powerful to acknowledge your feelings and then do the third option, the empowering option. And that third empowering option is to talk to God about it. Yes, again, I know this is a continuous theme. It tickles me. I sit down with Holy Spirit and go, okay, what's on your heart? And then we unpack stuff. And the answer always comes back, talk to me about it. And I was like, really? Again? He's like, yes, again. This is crucial to everything that we're exploring and everything that we're walking out. And so I make no apology for the fact that we're back here again. Because remember what we said before. God helping us, we can take every single little angst, hurt, frustration, time that someone didn't get us, those things which the enemy will use for his benefit if we let him. We can take everything that the enemy meant for evil and we turn it to good by using that as yet another opportunity to dig into God and His heart and His love for you. So that's your third alternative. When you're faced with those times when people just don't get you, you feel the feelings, you go, and then you go, okay, God, help me see this from your perspective. And then if you need to have a conversation with that person, the person doesn't get you, you can have that conversation, but it's from a much more empowering place, from a much stronger position, because you're not reacting. We have this tendency as humans that when someone doesn't get us, we tend to, if we're not careful, we can just react. And we don't necessarily always react from a really strong, loving place. Because we're humans. We're living in a world where we are having to battle all of the stuff that's going on around us. Yes, in the life to come it will be different. But right now, where you are right now, in this moment, remember, you are walking this out with God. And don't forget as well, the more that you do this, the more you are going to come up against those enemy forces, as we talked about in the playground call. I know I've shared with you already that one of the biggest and cleverest plays that the enemy has is to convince you that he's just some immaterial, naughty little trickster over there. And I know that some people go, I don't know that there's necessarily any battle going on. Not everyone recognises it. Personally, I think that's a big lie from the enemy. And the more that he can convince us that it's all just us, and it's all in our heads, and heap all of that, and oh, look at you're just so shameful and so disobedient, and you need to work through all that stuff. That distances us from those conversations with God. Because if we think it's all just us in our heads and we heap all this pressure on ourselves to try and fix whatever the thing is, we're not talking to God about it. And so the more that you do consciously, deliberately, intentionally, with expectation, step into that relationship with God, having those conversations, the more that you're going to stir up some trouble in the spiritual realm. But we are not to be afraid of that. You do not need to be afraid of that. If you dug into yesterday's episode where we talked about suffering a little bit within the context of what that means for us in the West, every time you choose to step forward and God helping you, you act and react with love. That is like going to the enemy. It's strike one for God and all the forces of good and delight and wonder. And don't forget, the battle is rigged in our favour. And by us, I mean us, those on the side of God. He's already done it. Jesus said, it is finished. So yes, while we do need to walk this thing out and we do need to do it intentionally with God, know that you are walking a battle that has already been won. The enemy is already defeated. He knows that, but he isn't going to go without a fight. And so those times when people don't get you, those times when you know that you're acting from the very best of intentions, that your heart is honourable and that you're really trying just to be kind or helpful or whatever that looks like in that context, and someone doesn't get it, you have a choice in that moment of how you're going to act. And I'm here today to encourage you and to remind you that even those frustrations, even those times when people don't get you, you can turn those to good. God helping you. Don't forget, this is not about willpowering our way through this. This is about walking this out moment by moment. Okay, what does this look like from your perspective, God? And this is the mandate of Yuya, and it's a new-ish mandate. Like, I know that some of you know, we only got the Yuya acronym about, I don't know, was it 2 months ago, 3 months ago now? I've been banging on about you being you for the longest time. You being you, full to the top of God's love, who God made you to be. And we didn't get that intentional, expectant relationship piece very explicitly until much, much later. And so one of the things that comes up, and I'll be transparent, one of the things that comes up for me a lot is, okay, Elle, you can't do this. You've only been walking this out for such a small amount of time. Who are you to be advocating for this life of joy and thriving and delight with God? Because you're still just baby at it. And that's a lie. Because yes, it is that shift in things has started to happen at the end of 2019. So it's still really not that long ago, And so yes, it will be entirely possible to believe that lie. But that is not empowering or helpful or kind or lovely. Instead, you take this and you go, okay, God, well, what do you say about this? And the same is true for you. Whatever things that come up, those things that are challenging, those things that make you go, those things that potentially cause you to dumb down, to play small. Take all of those things and ask God to show you those from his perspective, because he wants to show you. He loves you. He loves it when you come and talk to him. And it is a joy and it's his joy and delight to spend that time with you. So it doesn't have to be this mystical, difficult thing. We don't have to jump through hoops. We don't have to, turn around 3 times on the spot. This is really about you letting God love you. And if that feels difficult, ask him to help you with that. Literally everything that comes up, you can talk to him about it. He wants to explore that with you because he is love, and we are preparing and in the midst of a revival of his love, a new way of expressing that love, how he wants to be known by you. He is love. He is for you. He is not against you. So take all of those things to him and be encouraged, because he is there whispering his love into your ear right now in this very moment. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to share this with you. Housekeeping reminder, join us live if you want to from 9 a.m. UK time on the Facebook page. And if you're not in the Itchy Soul Playground and you haven't got a community, a safe space to walk out what it means for you to be Yuya, yuya.com/join. I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Yuya book launch day. Woohoo! At the time of recording. So I'm very excited about that. I'll be back tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.